Shalom, this is Hara 1 by Nyasha Allah of the Lions Den Camp. When say Kal Halayim, La Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Harakakodash, Ma'amah. Double honor to the elder apostles of GMS and the elders. Shalom to you, Akim and Akwati, my children that believe in sincerity and truth around the four corners of the earth. I had a question asked by one of the brothers in the camp, and I wanted to respond this way so I could do some edification, maybe for others as well. Now, he asked the question, does the sun go around the earth, or does the earth go around the sun? And of course, Esau teaches that the earth goes around the sun because they want to make the sun the primary of their order. But really, it's the sun goes around the earth. The earth is the centerpiece, all right? So now, let's get into a couple scriptures. I put together about 2 or 3 scriptures real quick just to get that understanding. This is Sirach 43:1. The pride of the height, the clear firmament, the beauty of heaven. And that's important because the firmament is always there as an example and, a representation of the Most High's thoughts compared to our thoughts. It's always there as a reminder. Okay, and it reflects what you would call ionizes the sun. Okay. It has like 7 layers to it, the firmament. Let me keep going. With his glorious show, the sun, when it appeareth, right, it appears and it goes through what we call a prism, and it shines that light, which would be a bright or white light, and it gets scattered or refracted. All right, and we see it as different colors. We see blue, the sky blue. We see red in the evening, yellow, sundown, sunrise, we see yellow, whichever angle the sun is facing when it's moving up or down or, around the earth in its orbit. And as the beams pass the earth, the colors change as well. All right. So that's why we have the color of the sky we have today. Now it says this, the sun when it appears, declaring at his rising a marvelous instrument. All right, so it's an instrument of the Lord. It's nothing to be worshipped. It's just an instrument. Okay, the work of the Most High, man. And the Most High gave the power to Yahushai, and Yahushai created it. At noon it parcheth the country, and who can abide the burning heat thereof, man? So because they just had a solar storm, yesterday? All right. So who can abide the burning heat thereof, man? It's the Most High that set that up. He created the sun and the moon on the first day. It is what it is. You couldn't have a day without the sun and the moon. Then on the 4th day, he gave it order. He set it up, the distance, how far the beams are going to reach the earth, what you call UV rays, gamma rays, all kind of other radioactive waves that would destroy us if we didn't have a magnetic field, Earth's magnetic field in the firmament. The Lord even set up the Earth's axis, so he creates seasons, winter, spring, summer, fall, by tilting the Earth away from the sun or towards the sun as he moves the sun around the Earth, and the Earth is spinning. So like they're going around each other. If you put 2 balls in the water, or 3 balls or really 2 in the water, and you spin one, if somebody just walk in the room, they don't know which one started first. All right. So now the sun when it appeareth, declaring at his rising a marvelous instrument, man. That's all it is, a marvelous, something to marvel at, that the Lord created, the true marvel. The work of the Most High. At noon it parcheth the country, and who can abide the burning heat thereof, man? All right, so it gives off heat and light. Because fire and light are two different elements. A man bloweth a furnace in works of heat, but the sun burneth the mountains 3 times more, breathing out fiery vapors that we call what do you call them? Coronal mass ejections, and sendeth forth bright beams that we call sunbeams. All right. It dimmeth the eyes. So if you look at it, you can't even look at the sun. It dims your eyes. And that's how it would be. The scriptures say the Lord is 10 times brighter than the sun. All right, well, he's brighter than the sun, basically, man. So imagine that. It says, great is the Lord that made it, and at his commandment it runneth hastily. So at his commandment, the sun runs in its orbit around the earth, okay? All right, this is Job 26:7. He stretcheth out the north over the empty place, and hangeth the earth upon nothing, man. So you got the earth hung in place. All right, but you got the sun moving around in orbit around the earth. All right, so this is Sirach 43:5. Great is the Lord that made it, and at his commandment it runneth hastily. So it's talking about the sun. But the earth is suspended in place. All right, it just spins, you know what I mean? And it's moving as well. All right, now this is a parable because it can be used for the children of Israel as well. But also it can be used for the sun, the creation of the sun, moon, and stars in the firmament. All right, going along with 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and 45. Yeah, 43 and 5. Psalms 19 and 1. The heavens declare the glory of Yahweh. All right, it's clear, man, that the Most High is above us. And the firmament showeth his handiwork. All right, the firmament shows his handiwork. When you look up at it, you see it all around because the earth is round. All right, anywhere you're at on the earth, there's a dome there. If you're in China, there's a dome. So it's a full sphere. All right, the earth is a spherical object. Day unto day it uttereth his speech, and day unto day uttereth speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge. All right, and that's what the Lord uses us for as well. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. All right, and also that goes into the establishment of the internet. The unicorn that's teaching and being spread around the four corners of the earth. All right, that's where they set them satellites at. Out there in the firmament, what you would call the exosphere. And through that I'm able to put this lesson up here, and it's able to be seen on certain parts of the country or around the world. All right. But it says, there is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. All right. And that goes into the men of the Lord teaching this truth as well. But also, you can see the firmament and the creations of the Lord there as well, because that's speaking too. You can look at it, and it shows the work of the Lord. All right, just like the prophecies. All right. Their line is going out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. See? And in them have he set a tabernacle for the sun. So that's twofold. All right, so now within the elect men, he set a tabernacle for a war. That's what that word would be. A light. Wow, yep, that's right, man. And this is definitely talking about the establishment of the sun and the beams and the rays from the sun, how they connect and are ionized through the firmament. If that wasn't in place, we would be burned up. All right. So that's what this is talking about. It says shamash. It's not a war, it'd be shamash, which means what? Basically, as glittering or shining, the sun rising in the east, a ray, basically sun rays. All right. So this can be twofold scripture. It says, which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber when it arises, right? And and rejoiceth as a strong man to run a race, man. So the sun runs that race. It rejoices at the Lord's commandment. That's why I said at the Lord's commandment, it runneth hastily. All right, it runs a race. That's the sun moving around the earth, which is um, basically suspended in air. All right, and it's Shemayim. All right, so now let's go to another example real quick. I'm gonna try to be brief of when Hezekiah, King Hezekiah, who was a righteous king. All right, I think he died around 681, 687 BC, around there. But he ruled from 715 BC. All right, so he ruled from yep, so about 716 to about 687, and then you had his dad, King Ahaz, who was wicked, um, and he ruled all the way till 716 BC, right before his son Hezekiah. All right, he really left office around 720, but he gave the kingdom over approximately around 716 to his son Hezekiah. All right, and Hezekiah held that position until 687. Okay, and I think his dad started ruling King Ahaz of Judah around 735. So so that's what we're reading about right here. And he was wicked, and King Ahaz was making all kind of idols, and worshiping different idols of the Assyrians and the Babylonians. So Hezekiah was finally at the point of his death. All right, not for any wicked reason, but it was just his time. The Lord said his spirit should not always dwell with man, and it was Hezekiah's time to go. So he prayed to the Most High for more time, and the Most High moved the sun back 1 hour for him. All right, and for a sign to him that he was going to let him live a little longer. All right, and I got to look it up, see how long he let him live. Wow, man. It says, I typed in how many extra days did King Hezekiah have after he prayed to the Most High. And it said he gave him, it was according to Isaiah, Hezekiah lived another 15 years after praying to the Most High. His son and successor, Manasseh, who was also, I think, righteous as well, was he was born, let me see something. Yeah, he was Manasseh was like two-faced, man. He was bad but good. He changed good later. Manasseh was born during the time, and he was 12 years of age when he succeeded his Hezekiah. So Hezekiah lived another 15 years after this prayer to the Most High, man, right, to live a little longer. Wow. So yeah, so if Hezekiah would have died, he would have died around 703 BC. All right, and as we know, he delivered Hezekiah from Sennacherib around 701. All right. You know what I mean? You see the power of the Lord, yo? And he kept him alive for 15 years, all the way to 687 BC. So now, let's get to the point of the sign that he showed to Hezekiah, King Hezekiah, this righteous king. He used what was called the sundial of Ahaz, all right? A sundial was what they used to read the hours and the time. It was just to use it for the time. And it was a beautiful process, man. The same way you can use it on your table to create refraction, which would be the scattering of light, separation of light. You can use a water glass, all right? Put it in the sunlight, pure white light, and it would scatter or change it to a prism, or the water would be the prism, just like the firmament, and then it would be changed into a spectrum of colors, all right, separated. It's called a rainbow. And they would use that to create that process. Let me get this, check this out. All right, this is called the sundial of Ahaz, man. And that's how it looked right there. It's cool, right? Look at the Lashawan Kodash, the writing on the bottom. Look at that. Man. You see it? They got the Hebrew writing down there. So, so this was called the sundial of Ahaz. You see the line? Like these counted for hours. Okay, when it would move back 10 or forward. So now let's see what the Lord did with it. All right. So now, and Hezekiah would use this sundial. People used it, but it was Ahaz that created it. All right. He created the sundial. Okay. Now it says, 2 Kings 20:8, and Hezekiah said unto Isaiah, what shall be the sign that Yahweh will heal me? All right. And that I shall go up into the house of Yahweh the third day. And Isaiah said, the sign that thou have of the Lord, that Yahweh will do the thing that he have spoken, the shadow, shall the shadow go forward 10 degrees or go back 10 degrees? So he's asking him, what do you want for proof that the Lord is going to keep him alive? He said, you want the sun to go forward 10 degrees within an hour, or you want it to go back an hour? All right, 10 degrees. So the sun was moving. You get what I'm saying? Forward and back around the earth. That shows even more proof that the sun goes around the earth. It says, and Hezekiah answered, it is a light thing for the shadow to go down 10 degrees, an hour. Nay, but let the shadow return backward toward 10 degrees. All right. So instead of going forward, you wanted to go back an hour. So the Lord can reverse time. And Isaiah the prophet cried unto Yahweh, and he brought the shadow 10 degrees backward, by which it had gone down in the dial of Ahaz. Now let's read about that dial of Ahaz. All right, it says, it is known as the dial of Ahaz, the sundial, right? What they would use to tell time, or what time of day it was. After the king of Judah, who supposedly, so it was named after the king of Judah, Ahaz, all right, who was ruling around 735 BC all the way until 716. And his son Hezekiah, King Hezekiah, took over after him, and he kept that sundial. So it is known as the dial of Ahaz, and spoken of in the scriptures, after the king of Judah, who supposedly invented the sundial in the 8th century BCE. All right, so basically around the 7th century. Filling the sundial's bowl with water refracts light. See that? All right. So our people were wise, man. Get this. All right, now I'm gonna read this real quick, not to get too deep into the story with Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, whose true names were called Azariah, Mishael, and Hananiah. All right, they were all Israelites. I don't know. Daniel was from the tribe of Judah. Okay. Now, I'm gonna read this real quick because they represent us and our people. It says, Daniel 1:7. As for these 4 children, Yahweh gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom. And Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. All right. Now, if you take that and you corrupt it, our people become what? They overpass the deeds of the wicked. People like King Ahaz, man, he started doing idol worship and shit. But he did create that sundial, just like somebody creating a watch or a way to tell time. All right. But he started worshiping idols. Now, Yahweh gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams, and in all matters of wisdom and understanding. Verse 20. All right, so that the king required of them. Okay, let me get this point. All right, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in all his realm. So astrologers, they be reading the damn stars and shit and worshiping the damn heavens, stars, sun and moon and stars. This is Wisdom of Solomon 7 and 17. All right, because you got a lot of idiots that think we're not supposed to know these things, but the Lord blessed us to know through his scriptures. You got to understand it. Wisdom of Solomon 7 and 17. For he have given me certain knowledge of the things that are, namely to know how the world was made. All right, so he taught us how the world was made through his scriptures. All right, and the operation of the elements. All right, the elements like what they call atoms, and the operations of the elements. The fire, wind, you know, the sun, moon, and stars, ice, the earth. All the metals that come of it, gold and silver, and all these things, man. For in where is it at? He also gave us the knowledge, certain knowledge, in the beginning of time, and ending, in the midst of times, through prophecies, right? How the earth, how everything began, and how it's going to end, and why it ended certain ways, and the alterations, right? So just the point, and the alterations, how it's changing, of the turning of the sun. So the sun is always moving, and the change of the seasons, and the circuits of years, man. So you get years from the sun going around the circuit in orbit around the earth. All right, so it turns and it moves around the earth. And the positioning of the stars. So the Lord set them all in position. All the stars we're looking at today out in outer space. All right, so this is yeah, man. So the Lord blessed us to understand this. So I'm gonna read this again. It says, "It is known as the dial of Ahaz, after the king of Judah, who supposedly invented the sundial in the 8th century, around the 7th century, really, BCE. Filling the sundial's bowl with water refracts light, all right, and moves the shadow cast by the gnomon back 10 or 20 degrees, or approximately an hour, creating a clever optical illusion, man. All right, so it's creating a way to read time at that, during that era. All right, so yeah, man, with this, man, Isaiah 55:8. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith Yahweh. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts, man. All right, just like the firmament and the sun and the moon and the stars are higher than the earth, is an example of how the Lord's power and his ways and thoughts are higher than our understanding. All right, and yeah, man. So that's it. The sun revolves around the earth. All right, so hopefully that was edifying to you. And shalom. All right, because you also have something called uh, heliocentrism. Okay, and that's what they're into, man. People that believe that the sun is the center of the universe. When you got many suns, it's about the earth, man. All right, that's the centerpiece. That's what all these things were created for. All right, to help the earth and its inhabitants. Heliocentrism is the astronomical model in which the earth and the planets revolve around the sun at the center of the universe. Historically, heliocentrism, all right, was opposed to geocentrism. Geocentrism, what it says, which placed the earth at the center. All right, and that's the truth right there. The earth is the center. The notion that the earth revolves around the sun had been proposed as early as the 3rd century BC. That was around the time of the Greek Empire taking off, and their philosophy, man. So that's Greek philosophy, to believe that the sun is the center of the universe. Why? Because they worship the sun, man. All right. The notion that the earth revolves around the sun had been proposed as early as the 3rd century by Aristarchus of Samos, all right, probably Edomite, who had been influenced by a concept presented by Philolaus, all right, of Croton, 470 to 385 BC. Wow, man. All right, so that was right before Antiochus Epiphanes came into power. or actually right before, no, that was right before Alexander, all right? And Philip and all them were in power over the Greeks. All right, so yeah. Now it says in the, all right, and there was also a little around the time of the establishment of the Greek Empire. Okay, so now let's keep going. In the 5th century BC, the Greek philosophers, see, that's what it's about. Their philosophy, man. This is Greek philosophy that the sun is the center of the universe. No, man. The earth is the center. You know, that's the establishment. Um, you know what I mean? So now it says in the 5th century BC, the Greek philosophers Philolaus and Hecatus, had the thought on different occasions that our earth was spherical and revolving around a mystical central fire, and that this fire regulated the universe. So yeah, man, they introduced that around the 3rd century. In medieval Europe, however, Aristarchus' heliocentrism attracted little attention, possibly because of the loss of scientific works of the Hellenistic period, man. So all right, that's something that they're pushing, man. But let's click this real quick, geocentrism. All right. In astronomy, the geocentric model, also known as geocentrism, often exemplified specifically by Ptolemaic system, is a superseded description of the universe, sheesh, man, with Earth at the center, all right? Under the try to make it sound all complicated, man. Geocentric model, the sun, moon, stars, and planets all orbit the Earth, and that's correct. The geocentric model was predominant description the predominant description of the cosmos in many ancient civilizations. See, in ancient times, they already knew this, but it was these modern Greeks. Once the Greeks came in power, started Hellenizing everything, and even the damn Ptolemies, you couldn't trust them either. So such as those of Aristotle in classical Greece and Ptolemy in Roman Egypt. So at least Ptolemy knew that, even though he was an Edomite. All right. So yeah, man. Let me get this. Let's read this real quick. It says 2 observations supported the idea that the Earth was the center of the universe. First, from anywhere on Earth, the sun appears to revolve around the Earth once per day. Wow, ain't that something? While the moon and the planets have their own motions, they also appear to revolve around the Earth about once per day. The stars appear to be fixed on a celestial sphere, rotating once each day about an axis through the geographic poles of the Earth. The second observation that supported the idea that the Earth is the center of the universe, it says this. Second, the Earth seems to be unmoving. It's hung on nothing, right? As I read earlier. Unmoving from the perspective of an earthbound observer, it feels solid, stable, and stationary. Isn't that something, man? So, right? So the Earth is the center of the universe, and it's basically hung and suspended in midair. All right, and it's stationary. All right, man. It says 2 Peter 1:16. For we have not followed cunningly devised fables, man. That's what that is. Basically, a made-up story. That's what a fable is. A made-up story, man. All right, they made that up. That's their philosophy. But we don't follow that. All right, and it's cunningly devised. All right. When we made known unto you the power and coming of our Lord Yahweh Shai, but were eyewitnesses of his majesty. So I'm at it there, man, because basically you got these people worshiping Sunday, and Solar, which is a pagan idol. All right, but the Lord said what? That basically the earth is the centerpiece, man, as I've proven through the scriptures just now, man. So with that, I'm saying shalom.